On this edition of Catching Up with the Kiwis, we are literally chatting to a star, a flying Kiwi who's made his mark in this part of the world and has literally flown across the Pacific Ocean in recent weeks and relocated to America ahead of what we hope will be a big chapter in the next phase of his career. Scott McLaughlin, hello.
G'day, Thruster. G'day, Greg. Good to see you.
It's great to see you too, mate. Let's start with a little bit of fun. You've been on social media talking about Scott Learns America. How are you going with it all?
It's a bit of a beat up actually, but they love Twitter over here. Massive fans of Twitter, and so I'm trying to grow my Twitter following in some ways. So I put up a post. I went to a place called Bed Bath and Beyond over here, which is it's like the Bunnings of home goods. Like it's just there's stuff everywhere. Okay. And I checked it out, and it was awesome. And I tweeted about it. I said this is probably my new favorite store. And yeah, it was the best thing I ever did because people just loved it and they wanted more. So I've got all these little checklists I got to do to go through fast food restaurants, all that sort of stuff, whilst I travel across America next year in the future.
Good on you. We're chatting to you in Charlotte. How cold is it there and how have you settled in, mate?
It's pretty chilly. Just saying to you before, I'm getting used to the Fahrenheit range of measurements, but it's still quite a massive Celsius, man. But it's about 6 or 7 degrees on Monday, but it's actually heated up over the last couple of days. So it's 16 degrees at the moment, and it gets down to about 5 degrees at night, but I actually don't mind it. I was born in June in New Zealand in the cold, and I'm used to the cold, so don't really mind it too much.
Charlotte is a beautiful part of the world and it's a real motorsport hub. Enjoy that. It's been a huge few weeks for you, mate, flying straight out after Bathurst pretty much, straight into some racing there. How much bigger have you found it all?
I think when I first walked into the pits at St. Pete, realized how big this place is, how much money is invested in the IndyCar series, and you walk past teams like Ganassi and then into Team Penske, and even the little teams are big teams, or what we would regard in supercars as big teams. So the budgets is completely different. But look, it's been really cool. It's been a whirlwind experience. I think that week after Bathurst was probably the busiest time of my life. Glad I did it. It's going to set me up so much for next year and stuff, and really, especially our first round is there next year in March, and that's exciting for me and my supporters, because hopefully I go a little bit better than I did when I was there in the last race.
It's great that you at least were able to tick the box and get one done, I suppose, before the end of the year in that sense, even though the result wasn't necessarily what you wanted.
Yeah, look, the result wasn't what we wanted, but I was able to learn pit stops. I was able to learn, what time drivers' briefings are, where the hotel is, like little things that you don't think that would be a problem or weird to get used to. But honestly, like going to trying to figure out where you're going, and then plus trying to think about driving the race car itself. It's a lot to take on for me and my wife. So it was a good weekend. A good weekend to learn my crew, because over here it's different. You've got your own crew. You don't share a pit boom, so it's not the same pit crew on 2 cars or 3 cars or whatever. Over here it's just you've got your 22 car, your 12 car, your 2 car, and your 3 car, and I've got my 3 car and the guys on there, and that's what's really cool, being able to work with a specific group of people going for the same goal as me.
The Penske organisation, mate, are terrific at recognising and harnessing talent. Probably a little backstory that might be worth sharing is how the switch in codes came about here, because on paper, we'd probably almost have thought, oh, well, it'll be a saloon car type move or maybe one day a NASCAR style move. But the switch to IndyCar, I think, probably surprised a few people. When was that first sort of mooted, that the notion of doing that, and how did you react to it?
Yeah, well, initially, absolutely. My goal in some ways was NASCAR. I've always loved IndyCar as a kid, but and Scott Dixon had a lot to do with that. But when Roger and Tim sort of come to me and said, "Hey, we're looking at America for you. Like, would you be interested in IndyCar?" I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a go at IndyCar. One, I love how it's always on road courses, and there's a couple ovals here and there, which I'd still be able to dip my toe in the water. That's very something different. But it was also a fresh start being an open wheeler. I've never really been in an open wheeler before. But yeah, certainly my management team, a few other people thought that NASCAR was probably going to be the road would go. But then it's sort of probably around Darwin last year in the Supercars, we started speaking about moving forward and what was going on, and that's when Tim pitched the idea, and I was fully open to it. And then we sort of did some testing on the simulator towards the end of the year and really liked it. And it was really for me to feel the car and see if I liked it and whether I wanted to have a go. And we won the championship in Bathurst, and that whole test that happened at the end or the start of 2020, that was basically a reward for winning Roger's first Bathurst and 2 championships, the championship with the Mustang. It was an opportunity for me to try the car, something that sort of just came out of the blue as well. And and once I come out of that test day, I was like, yeah, this is like where I want to go. And one that's fresh. I think I'd love to have gone the NASCAR route as well, and I still reckon I'd love to have a crack at a road course or something. But right now, I'm really happy I've gone a completely different way because it just feels fresh now, like it's new. It's quite exciting. I actually feel like a true rookie, and even though I would have been in the NASCAR side, but I genuinely feel like this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever decided. It's been a big undertaking from myself, my family, and Carly, my wife, but glad we're doing it.
I love the fact that you're getting your teeth into something fresh as you talk about there. So that comes with lots of learnings. You got to drive Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just recap for people here. How fast did you go? How mind-blowing was that? And what was the biggest learning curve?
Yeah, so I was probably doing race speeds at the end of my
Awesome.
my run there. So you build up as a rookie. So you go through like the 205 to 210 mile per hour bracket. You got to stay there for about 10 laps, and then 210 to 215 for another 10 laps, and then 215 plus for the next sort of 15. And that's when you pass your rookie test. For me, the hardest part of that test was going slower. So driving those cars at a less speed without all the downforce was actually harder. When I got faster and faster, that's when the flow sort of started happening, and I was able to drive the car, position the car better because I was coming into the corners faster. But I think I ended up 219, 220 average pace, which is what you see in the race times. But qualifying, like it's 230, 231 is pole time, so that's an average pace. So you're hitting 240 mile an hour. But yeah, certainly the fastest I've ever gone. For the New Zealanders and Australians, like that's 360 odd Ks. So it's a crazy experience. I remember trying to speak on the radio, and you can't actually, when you talk, you can feel the vibration like through your voice, and you can sort of hear yourself. Like in the car, I was like trying to speak on the radio, and all I could feel was my mouth moving. I couldn't hear myself. I couldn't feel the vibrations in my neck and my throat. It was a very weird experience.
Great stuff, mate. You've also beautiful shot of you and the legendary Rick Mears in the stands, empty stands. Great person to get some advice from. What kind of stuff did you shoot the breeze on?
Oh, so much. That photo was us watching Joseph at turn 3. Just we sat there for about an hour and a half, me and him, and we just talked about everything. It was cool. I was talking about what happened back in the day in the Snake Pit, which is like a little party area they have in the middle of the track. What was his biggest crash? What was his biggest mistake? What was it like winning this race? It's stuff that people would pay thousands of dollars to just enjoy that moment with him. And I was so privileged to have it. And then for me to go out there and have him as my spotter and talk me through it, especially at St. Pete for one, but he was in my strategy meeting. Like it's crazy. He's been connected to my hip the whole time. Awesome. And then when I got to the pit lane after my first run at Indy, he's the one sticking his head in the cockpit going, what do you think? It's like, this guy's he's a god over here, and it's so cool to have him as my mentor, as my my teacher, and really, really privileged to have that.
Mate, it sounds surreal. That's just tremendous. 3 straight Supercars titles, a Bathurst win you've alluded to there a moment ago as well. Is there anything you kind of didn't tick off on this side of the world before you left?
No, to be honest, I did a lot of cool things. Last year, I won in front of my home fans in New Zealand. I won Bathurst. I won championship. I won 3 championships, which was something that I've always wanted to do. I selfishly, I wanted to win on every track that I competed on, and I didn't get to do that. But I won at every track but one, and like I'm very proud of that. And I only did that with the team that I had around me. They were people that pushed me: Ludo, Lacroix, Richard Harris, Ryan Story. They pushed me to no end to be better. Fabian Coulthard, my teammate, always pushing me and getting the best out of me, not only as a race driver but as a human. And I think from 2017 onwards, I think I changed as a human being a little bit better. I think it wasn't all racing, I had a life sort of outside. I come to the team all focused on racing. That was it. I didn't think about anything else outside of it. I met Carly, and we had a life away from the track, and I certainly felt like that turned me around a bit. And that's probably one thing I'm really proud of is the person I sort of started being off the track.
As you should be, mate, too. Still very driven as a competitor, I know that, but with a great you're a great role model in so many ways. And one of the things I wanted to touch on, if you don't mind, for the youngsters that are watching perhaps the Motorsport New Zealand Facebook page here, as your profile's grown so significantly in recent years, that comes with some traps made from the likes of trolls and negativity, and learning to deal with that, to park that is quite a big part of that growth, isn't it?
It is. I struggled with that initially. I think when I first joined the category in Supercars, I was 16, and everyone, I stalled on my first race and got crashed into, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, that's what's going to happen." Guy's got too much money for how much talent he's got, or whatever. You cop all that, which is still happening today for any driver that's young and aspiring and has got good backing behind them. Doesn't matter how good they are. If they've got a check beside their name, they're a money driver, and they got nothing, and that's, I find that terrible. But you've got to take it as a grain of salt. It's so easy to say, but for me, for Facebook, if you can't cop the trolls and whatever, you really shouldn't be on there. But I feel like how I look at it, and I think I could teach this to young people, is that let's say you've got 1 million fans on Supercars Facebook page, right? And you've got a story that comes up about you, 100 people comment out of those 1 million people, and you have maybe 1 or 2 that really get into you about your life, or let's say real bad. That's like 0.01% of the people that actually follow that page that are talking bad about you. And you've really got to look at it in that context. It's a little bit complex, but who cares? It's one of those things where if that gets them excited and whatever, so be it. What they're doing is watching you, achieve your dreams or aspire to achieve your dreams, and they're jealous. And that's something that you've just got to be really comfortable with. Once you accept that, accept that. When you're going well, people are always going to try and grab things out of your bucket and make you feel bad. You've just got to be like, well, that doesn't affect how I perform in front of my fans, and how I be a role model to young people and whatever, and how I act on TV. And I've been really proud of how I've been able to definitely bypass a lot of that, because I've copped a lot in the last probably couple of years. But that's all part of it. Where it's just one of those deals.
Well done, mate. We should clip that off and use it as a great example to people. A couple of things to finish off on, just while we're on the learnings for young racers like that. Even though you're in America now, and that's very much your focus, you retain strong ties to New Zealand. You're very passionate about seeing through a project that should hopefully, all things going right, open doors for another young Kiwi racer to perhaps graduate one day from karts to cars.
Yeah, I am. So, Repco come on board as a sponsor for our supercar team about a year or so ago, a couple of years ago, and they were like, we want to, give you guys a certain amount of money, Fabian and myself, and put that towards a young racer, and we'll call it, the Repco Young Driver Scholarship. And I was all about it, really excited. And I went back to New Zealand and actually raced the nationals over there and go-karting. And I met a young kid called Tom Bewley. a real young, nice young kid. He's from Hawke's Bay, New Zealand, and just took to him. I just felt like he was quiet, just went about his business. He actually lost the race at the Nationals and by the scruff of his neck. And but the way he acted after it, he was really sportsmanlike and didn't cry, didn't get upset or whatever, which is quite easy to do when you lose a race like that. He was just straight on it and really took a liking to Tom. So decided to put my eggs in that basket with Tom and really support him. And unfortunately, with COVID, it slowed a few things down, and he was meant to race. So he did race one round at least at Adelaide at the Bend this year in the Australian Car Championship. Went really well. He finished fifth. Huge achievement for a kid that's never really raced overseas before and come up to Australia, which is probably one of the hardest racing circles in the world in go-karting. And he's going about his business real well at the moment. Winning the North Island Champs, that's just happened. He's doing a great job. His dad's an old racer. I know you know him pretty well, and he's just a great kid and someone that I'm really looking forward to in the future still being a part of his racing career. And in some ways, just hoping that I can, not just Tom, but I'd love to just if I can provide some sort of help to a young person coming up, or be there to just have some advice for Tom or something I wish I could have done with Murph back in the day. I wish I could have just called Murph and said, or text him and said, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what can I do here?" or whatever. It's just like a personal connection to a young person that, not that he needs it. I just think it's a cool thing. And
it's a great initiative, and he is super keen to get back to Australia to race karts there, as soon as is practicable. Final ones. Wins, podiums, that would be the dream in 2021. Have you set yourself a kind of, let's call it a manageable goal for next year? I know Tim Cindric, I think, told the Speed Cafe guys recently that a top 10 would be, perfect. What do you think is achievable in your eyes?
Yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I want to come out there and go really well, but I've got to be realistic. And I think Tim says it really well. I can't come out and I've got to put stuff in perspective. What I'm actually attempting is difficult, especially for a guy that's never really driven an aero car before. So I think, top 10 would be it's achievable and something that I think is a good goal for us. Especially, I've really given myself, till middle of the year to be acquainted, but I've got to realize that at the end of the day, I think I'll probably be comfortable in the car, but at the same time, I'm going to new tracks every race. So I've got this year to really get a feel for everything. And then, year 2 is probably where we'll hit it massively. But look, top 10 would be great. If we can do better, that'd be awesome as well.
Good on you, mate. There's the reaction from the likes of your own new teammate in Will Power, my buddy Lee Diffie. There's some great energy around the fact that you have joined this championship, and we hope it goes super well. We also know that if everything goes right and calendars align and things, that you'll be back at Bathurst as well. We would love to see that happen. We'll wait and see how that plays out. But from everybody involved in Motorsport New Zealand, from constituents to officials, congratulations on all you've achieved on this side of the Tasman. Be safe for Christmas, you and Carly. Watch yourself with COVID, obviously, and go get them in 2021. Many of us can't wait to get over there and actually watch you race, mate. Yeah,
look, thanks, Greg. It's a weird time zone. I'm getting used to ringing people in the afternoon and all that sort of stuff, catching up with mum and dad then. But look, really appreciate all the support from New Zealand, Australia, everyone. It's been pretty awesome to know how many people were getting up early on my first race and checking me out, even though I crashed out halfway through. But excited for what the future holds, and looking forward to seeing plenty of people at the Indy 500, hopefully next year.
Yeah, we hope so. There he is, Scott McLaughlin, a great ambassador for the game who's achieved so much, and we hope that the next chapter is even more successful in his career. Don't forget, for all the latest news on what's happening as far as motorsport events are concerned over summer, go to the official website, motorsport.org.nz, and we will catch up with another flying Kiwi real soon. Stay tuned to the Motorsport New Zealand Facebook page and our social platforms. Bye for now.